I never thought I'd hear it from her mouth. Out of all the things a wife could call her husband, boring, lazy, predictable, mine decided to go with, "You're more like a neighbor than a husband." She didn't even look at me. She tossed it over her shoulder like it was a piece of lint, already halfway into her heels. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because if I didn't, I'd probably break the mirror she was so obsessed with. Wow, a neighbor. Do I at least get to borrow my own lawnmower? She rolled her eyes, fixing her hair. Don't be dramatic. Sure, I said. Nothing dramatic about telling your husband he's basically the guy who checks the mail 2 doors down. She grabbed her purse, ignored me, and checked her lipstick one last time. Bright red. The kind of shade that doesn't survive a night with the girls, unless the girls were planning to kiss her. Big night? I asked, leaning against the wall. She smirked. Yeah, with people who actually know how to have fun. There it was, the jab. The usual 1-2 punch she loved throwing before leaving. I held up my coffee mug like a toast. Careful, don't let them find out you're married to the neighbor. Might ruin your reputation. She gave me that little smirk she uses when she thinks she's the clever one, opened the door, and said the line that made my teeth grind, "Try not to die of boredom while I'm gone." The door slammed, leaving me in the kind of silence that feels staged, like a TV show that forgot to add the laugh track. I stared at the door for a second. Neighbor, not husband, not partner. Just some guy renting space in her life. I could have sat back down, let Netflix babysit me, and pretended not to care. That's what the neighbor version of me would have done. But her perfume was still hanging in the air, and every second I stood there, it felt less like marriage and more like a joke I hadn't gotten yet. So yeah, I grabbed my jacket. By the time I hit the street, her car was already 2 blocks ahead. I kept my distance. She never checked her mirror. Why would she? She thought she left me on the couch with the remote, where neighbors belong. I followed, block after block, red lights chewing seconds out of me, anger simmering just under the surface. When she finally pulled over, I knew. Not a cozy house, not a restaurant, a club, the kind with bass that makes the pavement shake, the kind where the neon signs are brighter than people's futures. She parked, fixed her strap, and strutted toward the door like she owned the place. Alone. No girlfriends, no ladies' night selfies, just her and whatever was waiting inside. I parked 2 streets away, killed the lights, and sat there for a moment, gripping the wheel until my knuckles ached. Maybe this was the moment to turn around. Maybe I should have gone home, lived up to my new title, and been the neighbor. Quiet, irrelevant, invisible. But neighbors watch. And tonight, I was done being invisible. The street outside the club looked like a crime scene where the only victim was self-respect. I slipped into a side entrance, the kind nobody questions if you walk like you belong there. Inside, the air smelled like sweat, perfume, and bad decisions distilled into oxygen. Lights stuttered across the dance floor, freezing people mid-grind like crime scene photos. I kept to the shadows near the bar. Years of being the boring husband had given me the perfect camouflage. Nobody looks twice at a man who doesn't want to be seen. And there she was. Dead center on the dance floor, hair swinging, mouth curled in that laugh I hadn't heard in years. Not for me, of course. For him. Tall, gel in his hair, shirt half unbuttoned like he thought the world needed a peek. He had one hand on her waist, the other lifting her drink to his lips like they'd been sharing everything for a while now. My stomach clenched, but my brain was in overdrive. So these are the girls, huh? Didn't know your girlfriends had stubble and chest hair? She leaned in closer to him, and he whispered something into her ear that made her tilt her head back and laugh. That laugh. The one she buried years ago under grocery lists and passive-aggressive sighs at the sink. She'd resurrected it for this clown. I sipped my drink and muttered to myself, guess the neighbor wasn't invited to this block party. I had options, I could storm the dance floor, rip her away, and make a scene. I could walk out, let her think she'd gotten away with it, and plan my revenge later. Or I could do something worse, something she wouldn't expect. My fingers tapped the glass, heart thundering louder than the speakers. I felt eyes on me. A girl at the bar, brunette, short leather jacket, smirked like she already knew half my story. She looked once, looked again, and didn't look away. And just like that, the plan wrote itself. If I was just the neighbor, then tonight I'd be the neighbor she wished she hadn't underestimated. I pushed off the bar and walked toward her. "Rough night?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "You could say that," I replied, my voice calmer than I felt. "Wife's out there somewhere, dancing with her. Friends." She smirked. "So you're here playing the good husband?" I chuckled. "Something like that. Although apparently I'm not the husband, I'm just the neighbor." That got a laugh out of her, loud, sharp, cutting right through the bass. "Wow, harsh." "Yeah," I said, setting my empty glass down. "So I figured neighbors can have a little fun too, right?" She tilted her head, considered me for a moment, then slipped her hand into mine. No hesitation. The dance floor lit up as we walked out together. I could already see my wife's silhouette, moving in rhythm with her new toy. Every step closer was another nail in the coffin she'd built with that one line, and I was ready to hammer it in. The bass felt like it wanted to split my ribs open. Lights flashed across faces, freezing every smirk, every sweat bead, every lie. The girl on my arm, let's call her Jenna, because she looked like the kind of woman who wouldn't mind making trouble, smiled at me like we were in on a joke the rest of the room hadn't caught up to yet. And then I saw her, my wife, center stage, her head tilted back, hair flipping in slow motion under the strobe, hips glued to the guy in the unbuttoned shirt. She looked alive, not the talks about bills and laundry alive, the kind of alive that had apparently skipped me entirely. I leaned toward Jenna, raising my voice over the music. "See the brunette in the sparkly dress? That's my wife." Her eyebrows shot up. "No kidding. And here I thought you were single." "Apparently I am," I said, smirking. "At least according to her." That got me a laugh, sharp and quick. She squeezed my hand. "Well then, let's give her a show." We stepped into the crush of bodies, pushing toward the center like sharks through a school of fish. Every beat was a countdown. Every flash of light brought me closer to her eyes. And then it happened. The collision, shoulder to shoulder. Her perfume hit me first, familiar, nauseatingly sweet, and then her face. She froze mid-laugh, eyes wide, mouth falling open. Her hand slipped off her lover's shoulder like she'd been caught stealing. "You!" she hissed, barely audible over the bass. "What the hell are you doing here?" I grinned, leaning in close enough for her to hear me. "What's wrong? Neighbors aren't allowed on the dance floor?" Her jaw clenched. "Don't play games with me." "Oh, trust me," I said, tightening my grip on Jenna's waist. "I'm just catching up. You've been playing them for a while." Her eyes flicked to the girl next to me, who, bless her soul, leaned in like we'd known each other for years. My wife's mouth tightened, that fake, confident smirk twitching like it wanted to collapse. "You're embarrassing yourself," she spat. "No," I said calmly. "I'm embarrassing you." Big difference. Her friend in the open shirt looked like he wanted to evaporate into the smoke machine. He muttered something about getting drinks and disappeared faster than her loyalty. My wife's hand shot out, clamped around my wrist. "You're leaving. Now." I leaned down, smiling like this was the best night of my life. "Sure, but let's be clear. If I'm just the neighbor, then I've got every right to live my own life. Don't look so shocked when I start." Her nostrils flared. "Outside, now." Jenna gave me a questioning look. I mouthed thanks and let her go. She winked, already turning back to the bar, clearly satisfied she'd been part of a scene worth retelling. My wife dragged me through the crowd, her nails digging crescents into my skin. The music swallowed us as the exit slammed behind. And out on the street, away from the noise, her mask cracked. "You humiliated me," she snapped, eyes blazing. I pulled my wrist free, shoved my hands in my pockets, and smiled that same calm smile that drove her crazy. "No, sweetheart. You did that all on your own. I just bought a ticket to the show." She yanked my arm again. "Car? Now." I laughed under my breath. Wow, neighbor privileges come with chauffeur duty too? What a deal. "Shut up," she snapped, heels stabbing the pavement as she stormed toward her car. "You've already made a big enough scene." "Oh, I made a scene? That's cute," I said, following just far enough behind to make her turn her head in anger. "Tell me, was it me grinding on some guy in the middle of the floor? Or was that another one of your girlfriends with a 5 o'clock shadow?" She whirled on me, eyes flashing. "Don't you dare twist this." I spread my hands. "Twist what? You left the house saying girls' night. I didn't realize one of your girlfriends came with cologne and chest hair." Her nostrils flared. For a second, I thought she'd slap me right there on the street. Instead, she spun on her heel and stomped to the car. The drive home was silence turned weapon. Only the tick of the blinker and the faint hiss of tires on asphalt filled the air. Her knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Mine rested casually on my knee because I refused to give her the satisfaction of seeing me clench. She broke first. "You humiliated me." I smiled at the windshield. "Correction, you humiliated yourself. I just happened to be in the front row." Her head snapped toward me, eyes wide. "You think this is funny?" "Not funny," I said, voice even. "Tragic, pathetic, predictable. But funny? Number not even close." She gritted her teeth so hard I could hear it. "You had no right—" "There it is," I cut her off. "The famous line, I had no right. You had every right to lie, sneak out, dance all over some discount Ken doll in the middle of a club. But me? I had no right to exist outside the box you shoved me in. Neighbor rights only, huh?" Her breath came out sharp, ragged. "You don't understand." "Oh, I understand just fine." I turned to her, my smile razor thin. "You don't respect me, you don't want me, and tonight you proved it. You wanted a husband who'd sit quietly on the couch while you played single in sparkly dresses. And when he dared to stand up, suddenly he's the bad guy." I slammed the brakes as we pulled into the driveway, tires screeching. The car jolted to a stop. "Get out." I leaned back, calm as ice. "Ladies first." We walked in, door slamming like a gunshot behind us. The house felt smaller than it had an hour ago, walls closing in with every breath. She spun on me immediately. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone? Do you even realize how you made me look?" I set my jacket on the chair, took my time. "Oh, I realize. You look like a wife who lied about where she was going. You look like a woman who traded her marriage for a cheap night out. I just happened to be the mirror you didn't want to see." Her voice rose, cracking under the weight of her fury. "You are not going to turn this on me." I stepped closer, eyes locked on hers. "I don't need to turn it. It was always on you." Her hands balled into fists. "You ruined everything." I laughed, a sharp, humorless bark. "No, sweetheart, you ruined it the moment you decided your husband was just a neighbor. Tonight was just confirmation." I turned, walked to the bedroom, and pulled out a duffel bag. Her voice followed me, shrill, panicked now. "What are you doing?" "Packing," I said flatly. "Congratulations! You finally get to live without the neighbor taking up space." She stormed into the room, blocking the doorway. "You can't just leave." "Watch me." Her eyes widened, desperation leaking through the cracks of her anger. "You don't mean this." "Oh, I do," I said, tossing shirts into the bag. "And don't worry, I'll even take out the trash on my way out. Wouldn't want to upset the neighbors." Her face crumpled between rage and fear. "You're not allowed to just walk away from me." I zipped the bag, slung it over my shoulder, and met her gaze head on. "Funny, that's exactly what you did the second you walked out tonight." And then I walked past her, her voice chasing me down the hall, high and breaking. You don't get to leave me! Do you hear me? You don't get to leave! The door slammed behind me anyway. The first night away was quiet. Too quiet. No perfume poisoning the air, no heels stabbing the floorboards, no sighs heavy enough to crush a room. Just me, a crappy motel lamp buzzing in the corner, and the steady realization that I'd finally stopped being her furniture. I thought I'd lie awake, eaten alive by doubt. Instead, I slept better than I had in years. By morning, my phone was already a war zone. Missed calls, voicemails, messages stacked one after another. Where are you? We need to talk. You can't just disappear like that. Answer me. I scrolled through, half amused, half disgusted. By noon, the tone had shifted. Okay, fine, I overreacted. Come home, we'll figure this out. It didn't mean anything. You're blowing this out of proportion. Don't throw everything away over one stupid night. I almost laughed. One night? Try 100 small betrayals leading up to the grand finale. The line about me being a neighbor wasn't an accident. It was the truth leaking out. That evening, I typed exactly 6 words back. Already filed the divorce papers today. Silence for 10 minutes. Then my screen lit up like a Christmas tree. You can't be serious. Don't do this. You're not thinking straight. I put the phone down, turned on the TV, and let her words bounce off the walls like flies against glass. Day 2, the anger arrived. You're pathetic. Running away like a child. You'll never find anyone better than me. Enjoy your little motel, loser. I smiled. Sarcasm makes a poor lifeline when you're drowning. Day 3. Desperation cracked her voice messages. I could hear the tears in every syllable. Please, please don't do this. I messed up. I know I did. But you can't just throw us away. Pause. Shaky breath. Don't leave me. I can't handle this alone. The irony burned sweet on my tongue. Can't handle it alone, I muttered to myself. Should have thought of that before you treated me like a stranger in my own house. By the end of the week, she showed up at my friend's apartment, where I'd moved my things temporarily, pounded on the door like she owned the building. When I finally opened it, she stood there, mascara streaked, shaking with rage and panic all at once. You're not doing this, she yelled. Doing what? I asked, leaning casually on the doorframe. Respecting myself? Finally listening to what you really think of me? You called me a neighbor. Neighbors don't share beds, don't share lives. They wave from across the street, and I'm done waving. Her lip trembled. I didn't mean it like that. I cut her off, voice sharp. No, you meant it exactly like that. And guess what? You were right. I was your neighbor, but now I'm moving out of the neighborhood completely. She grabbed my arm, nails biting into my skin. You can't just walk away from me like this? I pulled free, steady, calm, final. Funny, that's exactly what you did the moment you chose him over me. I closed the door. Her fists hammered once, twice, then faded down the hall. Her voice cracked through the wood one last time. You'll regret this. Maybe, but at least it would be my regret, not hers. And that was it. The neighbor finally moved out. I didn't expect her to show up at work, but of course, she did. I was in the middle of a meeting, running through numbers, when the glass doors swung open like a bad soap opera, and there she was. My wife, well, almost ex-wife, dressed like she was about to audition for the role of woman scorned #1. Her eyes were already glassy, her voice pitched just high enough to cut through the room. There you are, she cried, marching across the office floor. Do you feel good about yourself? About abandoning me? The room froze. My colleagues blinked at me like they'd just tuned into the wrong channel. I leaned back in my chair, steepled my fingers, and gave her the calmest look I could muster. Morning, I said flatly. I didn't realize visitors were allowed to skip reception. She ignored me, planting herself in the middle of the room like she owned the place. Everyone should know the kind of man you really are. He left me, just left me, after everything I gave him. Someone coughed awkwardly. My manager stared at the floor. One of the interns looked like Christmas had come early. I sighed. "You done?" "No," she snapped, tears starting to smear her mascara. "You're humiliating me, filing for divorce, running off like I don't matter. How could you treat your wife this way?" I raised an eyebrow. "Correction, ex-wife in progress. Let's keep the job titles accurate." Gasps from the peanut gallery. Her voice cracked as she turned to my colleagues. "You see? You see how cruel he is? I gave him everything and this is how he repays me." I stood slowly, straightening my tie. Walked over just close enough so she could hear me clearly, but the whole room could still catch every word. "You're right," I said. "You gave me everything, everything I never asked for. Lies, insults, betrayal. Oh, and let's not forget the part where you told me I was more like a neighbor than a husband. Should I get HR to write that down as an official complaint?" Her mouth opened, then shut again. No words, just rage. That was when security finally stepped in. Two guys in dark suits, moving like they'd been waiting for this episode all morning. "Ma'am, you need to come with us," one said, gently but firmly taking her by the arm. She shrieked, "Don't touch me! He's the monster, not me!" They didn't argue. They didn't need to. They simply walked her out as she struggled and cursed, her voice echoing down the hallway until the glass doors shut again. Silence. Everyone stared at me. I adjusted my cufflink, sat back down and said, "Well, where were we?" "Oh yes, quarterly projections." And just like that, the meeting continued. The divorce was fast, faster than I'd imagined. She came in with her usual act, watery eyes, voice trembling like she was auditioning for pity. But it didn't matter. Judges don't care about soap operas. They care about facts. And the facts were on my side. The lies, the screenshots, the witnesses who'd seen her wrapped around someone else while I was supposed to be the neighbor at home. When the papers were slid across the table, I signed them with a steady hand. Not shaky, not angry, steady. Like I'd been waiting to put my name on freedom for years. She signed like someone swallowing broken glass, staring at me as though I was the monster who destroyed her life. And maybe, in her head, I was. In mine, I was just finally leaving the cage. After that, I didn't go couch surfing. I didn't hang around in someone else's spare room like a runaway. I got my own place. Small, simple, but mine. No scent of her perfume poisoning the air. No half-heard sighs from the other room meant to cut me down. No sense of walking on eggshells in my own house. Just silence. The kind of silence that doesn't feel empty. It feels earned. At first, my phone buzzed nonstop. Messages stacked on messages. "We can fix this. You'll regret it. Don't throw everything away." But I didn't answer. What was the point? She had already told me everything I needed to know in one line. "You're more like a neighbor than a husband." That was her truth. She said it once. I decided to believe her forever. The funny part, I don't feel ruined. I don't feel like some tragic ex-husband wandering through the wreckage of his life. I feel lighter, freer, like I shaved 50 pounds of dead weight off my shoulders. The only thing I regret is not walking out the door the moment she first started treating me like furniture. People ask sometimes, didn't it hurt? Of course it hurt. But pain passes, betrayal fades. What stays is the clarity. When someone shows you exactly what you mean to them, believe it. Don't stick around begging for a different ending to the same bad story. She thought calling me a neighbor would crush me, reduce me to nothing. All it did was remind me that neighbors don't stay forever. Neighbors move, and I did. Now I've got a place that's mine, a life that's mine. No games, no lies, no fake smiles hiding knives. Just me, finally free of someone who mistook love for a leash. And if she ever wonders how I'm doing, I hope she knows. I'm doing better than the neighbor she thought I was. 3 months after the divorce, I stopped checking my phone for her name. 6 months after, I stopped even remembering the number. The silence that used to feel heavy turned into something else. Peace. My apartment started to feel like mine, not a temporary hideout. I bought furniture I actually liked, not the kind she would have approved of. I cooked what I wanted, slept when I wanted, lived without tiptoeing around someone else's moods. Old friends started inviting me out again, and I said yes. New faces appeared too, people who didn't know me as her husband, just as me. I wasn't rushing into anything, but for the first time in years, I felt like a man again, not a prop in someone else's play. By month 6, I realized the strangest part. I didn't miss her. Not the way she looked. Not the sound of her voice. Not the life we had. The only thing I missed was the version of myself I'd let her bury. And now I had him back. She thought she broke me, but all she really did was set me free.